7 spine-chilling disappearances exposed, unexplained cases that haunt us to this day. The sun dipped beneath the tree line of Maplewood, but the twilight didn't bring comfort, it wrapped the neighborhood in a shroud of unease. Rachel's heart raced as she navigated her car down Terra Lane, past manicured lawns and glinting porch lights that seemed to mock her growing dread. Just weeks ago, laughter filled the air, and community barbecues drew families together. Now, the unease festered, thick and palpable, like a choking fog that rolled an uninvited. 7 children gone missing one after another. Murmurs buzzed in the street corners, parents whispering in fear, and Rachel's instincts told her this was much more than rebellious teens running amok. Unease seeped deep into her bones as she recalled the innocent faces of her son's classmates flashing across the news. The dread clung to her, heavy and unshakable. Lucas had started coming home late. Something was off, not just the shadows lurking at the edges of their perfect suburb but the shadows within her own home. As she pulled into her driveway, Rachel's pulse thundered in her ears. A flicker of light from the park caught her eye. Lucas was usually full of stories about school, but now he was a shell, retreating into silence with a heaviness that darkened the air around them. His gaze had shifted, eyes darting, searching for something or someone always just beyond reach. What could it be? The thought gnawed at her, and so did the whispers of the parents she encountered. It's just kids being kids, they say, their dismissive chuckle sending chills up her spine. Then came that night in the parking lot. She had just clocked out, exhaustion dragging her down when Lucille and Mark, the parents of Lucas's classmate, were huddled in low voices. Did you hear about the handyman? Lucille's eyes gleamed, and Rachel's stomach churned. The man who fixed sinks, painted fences, and occasionally waved a friendly hello. A chill cascaded down her spine. Her mind raced back to that day in the park, when she had seen one of the missing kids' laughter echoing, but drowned out by something darker lurking nearby. No, it can't be, Rachel whispered to herself, fear expanding in her chest. She rushed home, heart thrumming like a frantic drum. Lucas must know something. When she confronted him, silence filled the room. Moments stretched like an eternity until, finally, he spoke, voice trembling, "Mom, there's talk of the man who takes." The others stopped playing near him. Heart pounding, Rachel's world felt like it was closing in. Those campfire stories she thought were meant to frighten kids into staying close had roots in reality. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each word he spoke, her fear shifted into determination. The community's facade threatened to one day break, but Rachel couldn't wait. She had spiraled deep into a web of connections. Who ever heard of such disappearances? Each child's laughter echoed, taunting the very heart of Maplewood. On her phone, a message pinged, forcing her from her thoughts. A video of Lucas. Just as she hit play, her heart sank. The park loomed like a character in its own horror story. Lucas chatted animatedly, and there, lurking just past the light, was the handyman's face twisted into that menacing smile. The screen blurred, darkness closing in, and with it, the chilling realization, she had to act fast. Before the secrets of Maplewood swallowed them whole, before it was all just laughter faded into the stone silence of the night. Rachel's breath came out in ragged gasps as she rushed upstairs, her mind racing with the implications of what she had just seen. The handyman's smile clung to her like a sponge drenched in dread. What was he doing there? What did Lucas really know? She skidded into her son's darkened room, each step weighted with the gravity of her worry. "Lucas!" she called, her voice breaking through the shadows. She flicked on the light, illuminating the mess of toys and clothes sprawled across the floor. The bed was unmade, and the window was ajar, letting in a breeze that carried whispers of the night. He was gone. Panic clawed at her throat as Rachel raced down the hall, her heart pounding like a drum marching her to impending doom. Each creaking floorboard beneath her feet felt like a signal of her spiraling fear. She burst into the living room, where the front door hung slightly open, swinging on unsteady hinges. "Lucas! Where are you?" she shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. No answer. Only the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears drowned out any other noise. The fear coiled tighter, almost suffocating. Rachel stepped outside, her eyes darting. The street was eerily quiet. Chilled night air bit at her skin, and as she looked toward the park, she caught a flicker of movement, dark shapes flitting in the periphery of the pale streetlights, muffled laughter. The kind that should belong to children playing, but it sounded wrong, twisted. The shadows stretched long and erratic, and a shiver snaked down her spine. "Lucas!" she called again, desperation fueling her voice. She sprinted toward the park, the dread gnawing at her insides. What if he was out there? What if he encountered the very thing they had feared? As she reached the park entrance, the laughter grew louder, but it morphed into something distressing. It turned into cries, faint and muffled, echoing in an unholy rhyme with the rustling leaves. Rachel's instincts screamed that she shouldn't go deeper, but a mother's urge to find her child obliterated all hesitation. She stepped under the arching branches, the darkness closing in around her. Shapes danced just beyond her vision, children's silhouettes against the backdrop of the moonlit sky, their faces obscured. But no Lucas. Heart hammering, she whipped out her phone and turned on the flashlight, its beam slicing through the night. Shadows recoiled, revealing ghostly remnants of laughter frozen in time. The laughter curdled in her stomach as the beam caught a glimpse of a dreadful sight: a group of children huddled near the old play structure, but their eyes were wide and terrified. "Run!" one of them gasped, pointing toward a figure emerging from the shadows, a tall man, the handyman, his smile stretching wide, dissolving into the darkness. Rachel froze for just a second as her instincts battled against reality. "He shouldn't be here. How can he be here?" The children stumbled back, fear etched on their faces as they huddled together, backs pressed against the old swings. "Why are you standing there? We have to go," she shouted, but the words felt hollow. The figure stepped forward, closer, and she felt an icy grip on her throat. What happened next happened fast. The lights flickered in the park, illuminating the man's face, twisted and misshapen, sorrow masked by that chilling smile. And then, like a distorted reflection in water, everything around her collapsed into chaos. Motherly instincts battled with terror. She would not let them take Lucas, but she needed to figure out how to act. As she turned back toward the children, she realized they were gone. Shadows had consumed them like whispered secrets sought after in the dark. "Lucas!" she screamed, but the park had swallowed her cries. A rustle drew her gaze towards the hand at the edge of the swings where Lucas had been moments before. A glimmer of something caught her eye, something silver shining under the moon. She staggered forward, breathless. Could that be? Before she could reach it, darkness thickened around her, a presence more malignant than the shadows. It curled around her heart, squeezing until her thoughts scrambled, her vision blurred. In that moment, Rachel knew. This nightmare wasn't just about Lucas anymore, it was about survival, facing whatever lurked at the edges of her perfect neighborhood. As she fought against the wrapping blackness, a final figure emerged, a familiar silhouette with outstretched hands. The truth began to weave itself into a tapestry of horror, and the question hung heavy in the night: who would save them when the true monster wore a friendly face? The darkness consumed her, a tangible weight pressing down as Rachel's mind raced. She couldn't breathe, panic suffocated her thoughts. "Lucas, where are you?" Then, an echoing whisper threaded through the oppressive quiet. "Help us!" It was soft, desperate, trembling on the wind. She clutched the pendant around her neck, a small comfort that reminded her of better days. But reality slapped her awake. It could be a trick. The blackness shifted, flickering with shapes just beyond her sight. "Lucas!" She shrieked again, her voice cracking. Each cry fell flat against the dreary night. The silver she had spotted earlier shimmered tantalizingly near the swings. It drew her like a magnet. As she stumbled forward, her feet caught in the gnarled roots of the trees surrounding the park, she cursed the tendrils of darkness that sought to keep her bound. She fell to her knees, hands scraping against the rough ground. The object came into focus, a small silver bracelet, one with a blue charm. Rachel's heart lurched as recognition sank in. It was Lucas's. "Lucas!" She cried out, her voice hoarse with desperation. The laughter from earlier rang in her ears again, but now it sounded like cruel mockery. Echoes of innocent joys turned sinister, reverberating in the cold air. A sudden gust rushed through the park, swirling leaves around her, tugging at her clothes. The lights above flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced violently across the playground. Rachel looked up, finding the handyman's figure looming at the park entrance, eyes glinting like predatory animals. He stepped forward, darkness spilling from him like ink across the grass, consuming the once cheerful landscape she had strolled through countless times. There was no friendly smile now, only malice twisted into his features. "Finding that one tea help your boy, Rachel," he taunted, his voice reverberating with a low, mocking laugh that sent chills down her spine. He took a step closer, and the park seemed to pulse with his movement, a collective intake of breath from the shadows. Rachel surged to her feet, heart pounding as adrenaline flooded her veins. "Let him go. He's just a kid." The handyman tilted his head, giving her a sickening smile. "Just a kid or just a pawn?" His gaze locked onto hers, and a sense of dread curled in her stomach. When Rachel looked around, the children she had seen earlier returned, emerging from the darkness like phantoms, their eyes wide and tear-streaked. They were trapped, woven into the sinister fabric of the park, their souls tethered to unfathomable fears. Were they once like Lucas? "Stay back!" she shouted, shielding her eyes from the darkness closing in. But as she turned her gaze, fear twisted into clarity. She needed to end this. She couldn't let this monster get away, not again. "Help us," one of the children whispered, the plea echoing painfully in her ears. Rachel charged toward the handyman, fury igniting a fire deep inside her. "You took him. You will let him go." As she surged forward, a chilling laugh met her resolve. His form flickered, a distortion in reality, memories of the cheerful handyman spiraling into something grotesque. The darkness thickened, wrapping around her like a shroud, feeding on her fear as it stripped away her defenses. Just as she reached him, a branch snapped, and a figure emerged from the shadows behind her. Rachel turned, heart racing. "Rachel!" "No!" Lucas's voice. "Lucas!" She screamed, torn between the promise of hope and the suffocating dread surrounding her. The handyman's laughter boomed as he melted back into darkness, shadows cloaking his origins. Rachel's heart sank as she realized the choice before her: follow the voice of her child or stay and confront the nightmare that had taken root in the heart of the park. "Mom!" Lucas's voice echoed, a thin wisp of sound that rose above the heaviness of the night. Which way would she go? Could she really save her son from a monster that seemed to know every fear she held? Rachel hesitated, and in that moment, the world around her stilled, waiting for her next move, the air thick with terror, and time creeping forward like a predator stalking its prey. Could the truth lie behind one of those shadows, or was it forever lost to the dark? Rachel's heart hammered in her chest. Every instinct pulled her toward Lucas's voice, but the chilling presence of the handyman loomed like a storm cloud, ready to consume her. She couldn't let him win. Not again. Lucas. The name was a lifeline, a plea woven with all the love and fear she held for her child. She fought against the immobilizing dread wrapping around her like a vice, forcing one foot in front of the other. Shadows clawed at her heels, whispering vile promises of despair. The night air crackled with tension as she turned away from the handyman's mocking gaze, every ounce of her being racing toward her son's voice. The children stared at her with hollow eyes, their faces streaked with the remnants of forgotten laughter. They were lost, caught in a cruel limbo between this world and something far darker. "Help us," one child mouthed, their lips moving as if struggling against a powerful current. Deep down, Rachel understood. They were trapped here, and the handyman was the gatekeeper of their suffering. "Lucas!" she shouted again, this time with more conviction. The darkness around her shivered, recoiling from the sound of her fierce determination. "Follow me." A girl's voice urged from the shadows, breaking through the lingering despair. Rachel caught a fleeting glimpse of a small figure darting toward the edge of the park, where the trees thinned and the light of the street cast a feeble glow. Without thinking, Rachel took off after the girl, her breath coming in quick bursts. As she ran, the park shifted, the playground morphing into a nightmarish maze, the swings creaking ominously as if possessed. Each step illuminated heavy shadows that seemed to swell and surge, threatening to swallow her whole. But the flicker of hope, a memory of Lucas's laughter, spurred her on. She couldn't lose him. "Mom!" Lucas's voice echoed again, sharp and raw, tearing through her resolve. This time, it was closer, clear. She glanced back for a moment, creeping shadows pulsating behind her, and terror tightened around her throat. The girl led her deeper into the darkness, darting just ahead. "We can help him. But you must hurry," she urged, her tone urgent, almost desperate. Rachel pushed herself harder. "Where is he? Where have you taken him?" But the girl did not answer, leading her instead to the gnarled roots of a massive tree that sprawled across the ground, its trunk twisted grotesquely as if in agony. The sound of soft whispers filled the air, words layered with pain, secrets lost in the black void. "Please don't let him take you," one child pleaded just behind her. The warning was a sharpened knife, burrowing into Rachel's chest. She stumbled to a halt, a feeling of dread pooling in her stomach. "What do you mean? Who is he?" "The handyman. He consumes children's fears," the girl said, her voice trembling. "If you don't find Lucas soon, he'll take you too." Before Rachel could respond, the darkness thickened. It swirled, coiling hungrily around her. Panic surged as she felt the shadows begin to close in. Heart racing, she turned to find the handyman reappearing from the depths of the night, his figure towering like an omen. "Thought you could escape?" he said, voice dripping with malice. "Your child is lost. They all are. They always will be." "No!" Rachel shouted, determination igniting within her. She could feel every heartbeat echoing in defiance. "I will find him." With a fierce rush, Rachel charged toward the handyman, anger fueling her every step. She had faced fear before, but this was different. The very essence of her love made her powerful, a force against the abyss that sought to claim Lucas. But just as she lunged, a blinding flash erupted from behind her, a force that sent waves of energy rippling through the air, throwing Rachel to the ground. The shadows screeched, shrieked, recoiling into the abyss. Loss and sorrow blended, swirling around her as she braced for impact. The world blurred, and everything tumbled into chaos. Shouting filled her ears, but clarity sliced through the noise. "Mom! Help me!" A deafening silence followed, smothering her. Like a thick fog. The handyman's laughter faded, leaving a void that echoed her fears. Rachel pushed herself up, struggling to find her bearings as tendrils of darkness writhed around her. She blinked against the dim light, searching for a sign, a clue, as she battled the heavy weight of despair. But as she scanned the surroundings, a cold realization sank in. Lucas's voice was gone. "Where is he?" Rachel whispered to herself, panic clawing at her heart. The questions loomed as darkness gathered once more, closing in on her form. The air thickened with ominous dread, each heartbeat echoing more desperation. With sweat trickling down her brow, Rachel took a deep breath, resolve hardening within her. She wouldn't let the darkness win. As she steadied herself, her heart racing. A glimmer caught her eye, a faint blue light flickering in the distance like a beacon through the night, but what lay ahead? Would it be hope or another trap laid by the lurking shadows? Rachel took a tentative step forward, whispering to the void, "I'm coming for you, Lucas," and the shadows shifted around her, whispering secrets she dared not understand. The air grew colder as Rachel approached the flickering blue light, creating a stark contrast against the surrounding pitch-black shadows. With each step, her pulse quickened, an unyielding rhythm echoing through her body. She strained to suppress the gnawing fear clawing at her insides. "Lucas," she called out, her voice trembling but resolute. The darkness, pregnant with anticipation, seemed to still for a moment. Was there a response lurking just beyond the shadows? As she drew nearer, the light revealed itself to be emanating from an old, rusted lantern hanging from a low branch. Its glow wavered as if uncertain, mirroring the anxiety gnawing at her head. Underneath the lantern, she spotted a small clearing, an oasis amongst the encroaching night. But the way it revealed a fragile sense of safety only deepened her fear. What if it drew her closer to a darker truth? Cautiously, she stepped forward. The moment her foot hit the soft ground, a chilling wind swept through the park. It howled, a mournful whisper that seemed to echo her name. Rachel, her breath caught in her throat. The voice was similar to Lucas's, but there was something sinister woven into the sound. As she turned, desperate eyes landed on the shadowy shapes shifting behind her, restless specters keeping silence just beyond reach. "Help," they croaked, their mouths moving without sound, the words caught in a loop of endless despair. "Stay back!" Rachel shouted at the shadows, her voice turning defensive. No matter how lost they appeared, she knew she had to keep moving, she had to find Lucas. But as she continued toward the light, it flickered ominously. Suddenly, she heard a loud crash, as if something heavy had fallen nearby. Heart racing, she spun around, expecting to see the handyman emerge from the darkness, but instead, she found only a still silence, hollow and suffocating. Breath ragged, Rachel hesitated. "Lucas! Are you there?" The intensity in her voice echoed against the trees, the question suspended in the air, waiting for an answer that never came. The lantern's light dimmed slightly, casting long, twisted shadows that danced around her, each shift sending fresh waves of terror crashing over her. It was then she caught sight of something glimmering on the ground, partially obscured by leaves. Reaching down, her fingers grazed across cold metal, a locket, intricately designed, stained with remnants of what looked like dried blood. Chills rolled down her spine. Could it belong to Lucas? She knew he wore one at that moment. A shrill scream pierced the silence, echoing through the park. It was raw, desperate, a horrifying sound that twisted her heart with endless anguish. Rachel's blood ran cold. It was undeniably Lucas's voice, begging for help. Without thinking, she bolted toward the sound, propelled by terror and fierce love. The shadows swirled around her, spinning faster as if they were alive, constricting her movement, whispering the broken laughter of lost children. "Mom," the voice echoed again, closer now, pulling her with a magnetic force. Rachel pushed through the angst-ridden darkness, which thickened with every frantic step. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted, the earth opening up into a wide chasm, a void that threatened to swallow her whole. She skidded to a halt, heart hammering in her chest. "Lucas! Where are you?" Her screams echoed back sharper, emerging from the abyss as a mocking chorus. The dark mouth of the chasm yawned wider, enticing her forward, calling her into its dreadful maw. With a surge of defiance, Rachel stepped back from the edge. She couldn't surrender to this horror. Not now. Not when there was still hope. Yet as she looked back, the blue light was gone, replaced by ominous shadows whispering promises of despair. A familiar voice, soft, inviting yet laced with danger, floated through the air. "Mom, come closer." Rachel's breath hitched. The handyman's laughter echoed in the distance, chilling her to the bone. What was real? What would it take to wrench Lucas from this nightmare? The darkness pulsed, feeling almost sentient, as if waiting for her next move. And in that moment, Rachel understood, the choice she would make now would change everything. With a fateful glance toward the chasm, Rachel whispered, "I will not let him have you." But even as she said the words, doubt crept in, and moments later, the voice shifted again. "You have to choose before it's too late." The shadows closed in as dread washed over her, the depths of uncertainty swirling like a tempest. Could she trust her instincts? Or was she merely walking into another trap? The air thickened with tension, and the darkness hung heavy awaiting her next decision. Rachel's heart raced, each beat a war drum echoing in the suffocating silence surrounding her. She pushed back the doubt, focusing on the faint sound of Lucas's voice, which seemed to carry through the oppressive night like a beacon of hope or a cruel joke. "Mom, please." It trembled with desperation, each syllable clawing at her resolve. She leaned toward the chill of the emptiness, searching for clarity. The shadows pressed in tighter, relentless and insatiable. "No!" she cried out, defiance rolling off her tongue. "I won't give in." But the darkness only chuckled, a dissonant melody weaving through the air. "Come closer, you must decide." She squinted into the void, the shapes swirling, ever shifting like smoke. Were they taunting her? The specters seemed eager, their hollow eyes locked into hers, mirroring her fear. "Lucas!" she shouted, fighting back tears. "I'm coming for you." The ground beneath her felt unstable, shifting with her determination as if the earth was alive and aware. She took a cautious step back from the chasm, the void growing impatient, gaping wide like a monster ready to devour her whole. Another scream sliced through the air, this one shrill and agonizing. Rachel shuddered, pressing her hands to her ears, desperate to block out the sound. It was a twisted symphony of sorrow, accompanied by sounds of cracking branches and whispering voices that clawed at her sanity. Just as she thought to flee, she spotted movement, a flicker of white darting through the trees nearby. Driven by some primal instinct, she ran toward it, pushing through the shadows. The chill of the wind bit at her skin like icy knives, every whisper stinging against her flesh. Each step was fraught with danger. Rachel felt the shadows tug at her pants, clutching at her like skeletal fingers demanding her surrender. She staggered, barely keeping her balance, but the flickering movement drew her forward. Was it Lucas? "Mom!" The voice echoed again, more insistent now, laced with fear. She could hear him clearly, he was close. Her heart raced faster, propelling her deeper into the darkness, praying she wouldn't lose him. The trees closed in tightly, creating a labyrinth that disoriented her. The white flicker turned into a grove that glimmered unnaturally, a haunting beckoning light amidst the encroaching dark. "Lucas!" she cried, faster now. The light pulsed rhythmically, and for a brief moment, it felt like the grip of despair loosened. Could it possibly be safe? As she came closer, the shadows receded just enough to reveal twisted branches and scattered leaves, but it was only a fleeting glimpse. The moment she approached, the ground beneath her cracked, a deep fissure echoing like a roar. "Mom!" Lucas's voice came from somewhere inside that grove, close enough that she almost believed it. "Please help me." Rachel gasped. Instinctively, she lunged forward, reaching for the ethereal glow. A surge of warmth hit her as she neared, and for a heartbeat, she thought she could touch him. But the light flicked sharply, revealing a pale face within, twisted and ghostly, lips moving rapidly but words drowned in malevolent whispers. The image of Lucas flickered, melding into the entrenched shadows around her. The laughter erupted, cruel and mocking, a cacophony of hysterical torment. Rachel stumbled back, the warmth turning to ice, panic gripping her once more. "Mom!" The words were drowned out, swallowed by the darkness that roared back to life. It pulled her in like a riptide, heavy and suffocating, relentless. She clawed at the ground, desperate to hold on. "Get away from him!" she screamed, every ounce of desperation poured into that command. The shadows recoiled momentarily, but from the depths of the darkness, a new voice emerged, deep, hollow, and shaking. "You could have saved him, but now time runs short." Rachel froze, dread coiling around her heart. Time? What did that mean? Could she really make the choice? The ground vibrated once again, echoing the heartbeat of the dark forces restraining her. She looked back, a suffocating dread settling over her as she recognized the all-too-familiar face forming in the void. A shadow of the handyman grinned, eyes glinting with malice. "Tick-tock," he taunted. Rachel felt the edges of her resolve crumble beneath the weight of the shadows. The choice was hers, but it felt like an insurmountable chasm, deeper than ever, stretching across an abyss of despair. What would she risk to save Lucas? As the shadows swirled in a chaotic dance around her, the air hummed thick with tension. How much could she sacrifice to reclaim what had been lost? The darkness tightened its grip, and Rachel braced herself. What horror awaited if she hesitated? With a lurch, she made a decision, heart pounding, throat dry. But would it be enough to break the hold? "Let him go!" she shouted, voice breaking through the maelstrom, and she waited for the answer that would decide their fate. The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence that roared in Rachel's ears. She strained to hear anything beyond the beating of her heart, the dark swirling around her like a living thing, choking and relentless. Nothing. Lucas. Panic clawed at her throat. "I'm coming." She surged forward at the last chuckle of that malicious voice, yanking herself from the ground, foot finding its balance on the precarious edge of the crack. The grove was alive, branches snapping like fingers reaching out to trap her. The very trees seemed to laugh with that dreadful echo. Rachel directed her gaze within the light, trembling as she took another step, and stopped. The grove pulsed, sending ripples of panic through her soul. She could swear she saw Lucas's face again, fleeting yet desperate. "Mom!" That voice. The way it pierced her heart left her breathless. Thighs tightening, she fought the urge to flee. No, she wouldn't be driven away this time. The shadows wouldn't claim her son without a fight. "Just hold on. I'm almost there." She reached for the mesmerizing glow, each bit of energy drawing her like a moth to a flame. With each word she spoke, the walls around her retracted, just enough that she could see the outlines of Lucas's form. It shimmered, disintegrating at the last possible moment, promising to be there only to recede into the darkness. The cruel laughter swelled again, grating against her sanity. "Mom! You have to." The voice cut off abruptly, swallowed whole, echoing through the dread with a sorrowful finality. Rachel gritted her teeth, eyes ablaze with fear and fury, the time for hesitation long gone. She could feel time slipping like sand through her fingers, desperation twisted deep in her gut. "What do I have to do?" She screamed into the void, her voice trembling, a raw edge of terror transforming into resolve as it faded within the darkness, returning only with mocking lips of the shadow. "Choose." The handyman's words snaked through the air again, a binding curse. "What will you sacrifice?" The fire inside her ignited as she took one shaky step closer, her heart an erratic drum against the silence, weighing her uncertainty against her love. Suddenly, images of Lucas flooded her mind, a kaleidoscope of moments: the first time he rode his bike, giggles over ice cream, his head buried in her shoulder as she read him bedtime stories. All the time she had promised to protect him. "No, you won't take him!" Rachel screamed, and this time she charged forth, ready to topple the darkness as it tried to wrap around her again. The shadows hissed, their grip tightening, cold fingers ensnaring around her wrist. She felt sharp branches lacerate her skin, an agonizing scream tore from her throat. Yet she pressed on, pushing into the bright glow that felt so close, twisting into the shapes of memories, into the depths of that echoing laughter. Choose. Each breath was agony, every heartbeat an eternity. She would not watch him slip away. "Take me instead." The words barreled out, raw and desperate. "Just let him go." A pause. Silence. Then the laughter morphed into something darker, more sinister. Very well, a shrill scream echoed through the night, and suddenly, an immense force pulled Rachel back like a tidal wave. She was fighting against the current, drowning in despair. She felt herself being ripped apart. In that moment, everything went black. Then, as if waking from a dream, she blinked. The grove was gone. The trees had vanished, leaving her alone in a void. Rachel's heart slowed as reality gripped her. She could barely breathe. "Lucas?" She called into the emptiness, trembling with dread, feeling the cavernous silence swallow her. And then the flicker. It seemed so fragile, just a glimpse of light in the distance. Hope surged and her resolve hardened. She started moving toward it, every step heavy yet resolute. But what she saw was chilling, transfixing, an orb pulsating with a heartbeat, but the shape inside was no longer comforting. What awaited her? She was unprepared for Lucas. The pulsing light dimmed. Rachel's blood ran cold as a dark. Realization crept in. The shadows were gathering again, swirling, savoring her every heartbeat as they whispered promise and threat. What had she released? The ground trembled, and she felt a tug at her core, a sinister curiosity igniting. Was she truly ready to uncover the darkness within? And just like that, the flicker vanished, leaving Rachel in a void burdened by shadows. Ahead, a distant echo taunted her. "Your time is up, Rachel." The darkness enveloped Rachel, a suffocating blanket of dread. Her senses sharpened, strands of whispered warning spun through her mind, urging her to flee. But there was no place to run. The chilling echo reverberated once more. "Your time is up, Rachel." The voice twisted and curled, wrapping around her like icy tendrils, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Panic surged, but a flicker of determination ignited within her. She had chosen to face whatever horrors lay ahead. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, her own words swallowed by the oppressive void. The orb flickered back to life, thrumming ominously. It pulsed like a dark heart, its rhythm syncing unnaturally with her pounding chest. And then, it expanded. Within the orb, shadows shifted, forming shapes that resembled faces, familiar faces. Lucas among them. Their eyes mirrored her terror, mouths silently screaming, trapped within some unseen prison. "No!" Rachel staggered back, her legs buckling. The sight threatened to shatter her resolve, memories replaying relentlessly. Lucas laughing, his hands clutching the handlebars of his bike, the sparkle in his eyes as they shared secrets late at night. Would she lose him forever? A cold wind swept past her, carrying with it a chorus of anguished cries. The shadows twisted, reaching for her. "They're all trapped, just like you," the sinister voice taunted, echoing through the void. "You chose, but did you truly understand?" Rachel's heart sank. The painful weight of her decision bore down on her. She had thought herself strong, willing to sacrifice everything for her son. But at what cost? "Let them go. Let him go," she screamed, fighting against the pull of despair. The shadows recoiled momentarily but then surged forward, twisting her anguish into palpable energy. Suddenly, she was flung into visions vivid and raw of her past choices, the moments she had overlooked. Regret intertwined with fear. Had her neglect brought this upon them? The orb exploded with light, exposing the silhouettes of those lost. Each face a reminder of a choice she once made, entangled in her desire to shield Lucas. They screamed as the shadows tightened around them, drifting further from salvation. "No! I want to let you have them." Rachel thrust her hands forward as if she could grasp their freedom. With newfound fury, she summoned her love for Lucas, channeling that incandescent light into the dark mass in front of her. "Let it be me," she cried, her voice fierce and full of heartbreak, breaking the silence. "Take me and let them go." For a moment, the shadows hesitated, the orb pulsing, flickering light like a heartbeat in hesitation. Then the laughter rang out again, derisive and cold. "You misunderstand, dear Rachel. The price is already paid. All will be yours to lose." The laughter escalated, resonating deep within her bones, ringing like a death knell. In an instant, the flicker split into countless shards, each hurling toward her, piercing her skin with icy tendrils. Pain exploded through her, and she fell to her knees, howling as she grasped her head. The abyss swallowed her. In that moment of pain, a spark ignited. Love surged forward, lighting the depths of her despair. She reached deep within, holding her breath, fighting back against the oppressive void. Then, a flash of color broke the encroaching black. It sliced through the dark, revealing a doorway, a sliver of hope. "Lucas!" She cried again, desperation clawing at her throat, twisting her heart as she stumbled toward the light. But as she reached for it, a hand emerged. The shadows reeled around the edges of the light, contorting as if in pain. "No! It will take him if you step through." The voice echoed, more insistent, filled with dread. Rachel halted, torn between love and surrendering to the darkness that yearned for her soul. But as the shadows writhed, a figure emerged from the light, sprinting toward her. "Mom, help me!" "Lucas!" The fight within Rachel surged anew, determination spinning into a cyclone of desperation and rage. She would not lose him. And then, she felt it, a connection, a tether. Stretching taut through the darkness. "Take my hand!" she cried. But what position was Lucas really in? She couldn't tell if he was coming toward her or standing in the grips of the shadows, a puppet to their whims. As he reached for her, the shadows recoiled, hissing, choose or lose it all. What to do next left her heart pounding. But could she risk it? A haunting silence filled the void. "Let me in." The shadows spiraled tighter, myriads of faces flashing past her eyes as they pleaded, some reaching toward her. What horrifying cost lay in her decision? And just like that, Lucas's expression twisted from hope to fear, the light flickering again. Rachel's breath hitched. Choose the darkness taunted once more, but would she choose love or sacrifice? The oppressive weight of terror pulled down as the figures began to recoil, leaving her with one terrible question. Was she ready to face the choice, or would the shadows devour them both? Rachel's heart thundered in her chest, each beat a loud protest against the suffocating black. She felt the pulse of the orb reverberate through the air, vibrating against her skin with dread and urgency. Lucas's terrified face was etched deeply into her mind, a painful reminder of what hung in the balance. "Mom, help me!" His voice rang out again, echoing through the shadows. With all her might, she focused on him, her fingertips straining toward his outstretched hand. Was he really there? Was this a cruel trick played by the darkness? The shadows hissed and twisted around his figure like serpents, threatening to drag him back into their depths. The orb surged again, a dark heartbeat ringing through the void. The chilling voice echoed again, "Make your choice. You know the cost." Panic clawed at her throat. She had felt the weight of her decisions and the crushing responsibility to save Lucas. Yet, in the pit of her gut, a gnawing dread clawed at her. Choosing him might mean condemning them both. "Lucas!" she screamed. "Hold on. I'm coming." Each inch felt like a mile. The distance between them seemed as vast as the empty void around them. The cold sting of the shadows made her fingers tremble, brought forth every fear hidden in the darkest corners of her mind. The faces in the orb twisted as if urging her to turn, taunting her to let them go. "Please," she whimpered, dropping to her knees, desperation consuming her. "What do you want from me?" There was no more time, every moment felt precious, slipping through her fingers like sand. Lucas's face began to fade as the shadows surged forward, threatening to swallow his light. "Choose, Rachel." The command boomed, shaking the ground beneath her. In that moment of terror, a surge of clarity hit her. "No!" she shouted into the void. "I want to let you take him. Not today. I refuse." She felt something snap within her, an ancient power rising from her depths. Rage ignited, hotter than the shadows clinging to the edges of this fearful landscape. Fueled by a mother's ferocity, she stood, defiance sparking in her eyes. Love was stronger than fear, and the darkness would regret underestimating her. "Take me instead!" she screamed, her voice echoing, bold and unyielding. Let him go. I'll face whatever you want. Silence, a stillness that curdled in her gut. For a moment, it felt as if the shadows were contemplating her offering. The orb pulsed slower, the faces simpered with glee, but still, Lucas's terrified plea reached through the chaos. Mom. It was raw, jagged. I'm here, Lucas. I won't give up. Suddenly, a flash of blinding light erupted from the orb, engulfing the shadows. Screams echoed like the chiming of a funeral bell, the faces swirling within it contorted, panic rising. The orb fractured, jagged edges splintering as the shadows whipped like furious winds. No. You will pay. The voice howled, thick with fury. Rachel felt the ground shift beneath her. An unseen force pulled at her, dragging her closer to the cracking orb. The light surged brighter, threatening to break her resolve along with the shadows. Let go, Mom. Please. Lucas called out, the pain in his voice knifing through her heart. Hold on. I'm coming. Just as she braced for the worst, the orb imploded with a deafening roar, plunging Rachel into darkness once again. Swallowed whole, she thrashed against invisible bonds, shadows wrapped around her tightly, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Lucas. She gasped, desperation clawing its way out of her throat. Was he still there? Or had she lost him forever? And somewhere from the depths, the voice returned, clearer now. You think you can escape? You should have chosen differently. What will you sacrifice now, Rachel? A shiver cascaded down her spine, and in that moment of unending darkness, Rachel realized she had only begun to understand the true depth of her sacrifice. Would she find Lucas again? Or were they both lost to shadows that demanded a far harsher price, the weight of her choices pressed down on her? The voice cackled, resonating with promises of fear, and she was left with one heart-stopping question looming in her mind: what if love wasn't enough? Rachel's heart raced in the suffocating darkness, the weight of her fears mingling with the flicker of hope that refused to die. The hollow voice echoed through the void, taunting her very existence. What will you sacrifice now, Rachel? She steadied her breath, drawing strength from the memories of Lucas, his laughter, his smile, the way he filled her life with sunshine. He was the heartbeat that pushed her forward. I will sacrifice anything for him, she whispered fiercely into the blackness. I will face whatever it takes. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, the hiss of a million whispers cascading around her. The darkness pulsed in response, and she felt a stirring of air, like anticipation in the stillness. Anything? The voice mocked, the malice practically dripping from the words. Yes. Rachel shouted, firm and unwavering. Just let him go. Take me instead. The darkness reverberated with a chilling laughter, the shadows swirling as if debating her offer. An icy grip constricted around her, tugging, squeezing. She braced herself against the force, pushing back against the fear that sought to consume her. The bond between her and Lucas pulsed in her chest, a tether of love that ignited her spirit. Very well, the voice echoed around her, reverberating deep within her chest, echoing doubts and despair, but she held on. She could not give in to fear. That darkness could not be the end. Out of the shadows, a familiar warmth flickered to life, a golden light breaking through the dense canopy of despair. The orb reformed, this time pulsing brighter than ever before, casting away the creeping shadows. Faces emerged again, but this time, unlike the fear-laden features she'd seen before, they held clarity, joy mingled with sorrow. A face she recognized among the children, Lucas. His once frightened expression glimmered now with hope. Mom! He called out, voice echoing like a sweet song against the night. I knew you would come. Lucas! She cried, tears flooding her eyes as she took a step toward him, the pulsating light drawing her nearer. Instinctively, she reached for him, feeling the warmth beckoning her. But shadows instantly tried to wrap around her ankle, freezing her in place. No! I will not be stopped. With a deep breath, she yanked her foot free, determination coursing through her veins. The orb burst with light, illuminating the darkness that encircled Lucas, forcing it back. You will not take him. She screamed, feeling the power of a mother's love surge within her. Let him go. The shadows wailed, recoiling as if they had touched fire, but the darkness fought back. It screamed, you think love will save you? Love is a weapon, but it cuts both ways. The air crackled with energy, the bond between Rachel and Lucas radiating across the divide. I don't care. Rachel shouted against the madness. I'd burn the world to keep him safe. Lucas was there, shimmering in the light, eyes bright with understanding. It's okay, Mom. I'm right here. Rachel surged forward, heart pounding, every ounce of her spirit pushing against the shadows. I am coming for you, Lucas. You're my everything. Suddenly, the darkness exploded backward, revealing a path forged from light. The orb pulsed rhythmically, beckoning her to take the leap of faith. Reach for me. Rachel gasped. She felt the warmth of the light enveloping her, pulling her closer to Lucas. Plants and trees whispered behind her, shadows slinking back into a corner, stifled by the light. With one last surge of defiance, Rachel propelled herself forward, leaping into the glowing orb. Colors painted her vision, fanfares of warmth and safety wrapping around her, as she felt time suspend. Then, everything went still. Rachel landed softly, the ground beneath her warm and inviting. She blinked in shock and disbelief. Darkness evaporated around her, and right in front of her was Lucas, standing there, glowing with warmth and life. Mom! He cried, rushing into her arms. Tears streamed down her face as she held him tightly. You're safe. We're safe. The shadows dissolved completely, dissipating into nothingness as if the very fabric of fear had been unraveled by their love. In that moment, the chaotic past faded, leaving only the warmth of their bond echoing softly between them, but in that calmness, an ultimate truth settled in Rachel's heart. We need to tell the others, she stated, steadying her breath, the embrace still warming her from within. Together, they would heal their community, one lost child at a time. Just as the first rays of dawn peeked through the branches overhead, the heaviness of anguish lifted. Maplewood would remember this darkness, but they would also remember how love triumphed over it. Together, they would move forward, united. Their adventure would become a light in the world, a guiding star for all those lost. And as Rachel held Lucas tightly, she knew this was not just a beginning, but a renaissance of hope. The darkness would never again claim the joyful laughter of children. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending, and please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. True fans understand the importance of supporting this channel.